how's it going? Welcome to the show. Hope you guys have saved some room in that gas tank because it's time to go one more round with Rob. Here on today's show, I'm going to be giving you guys my take from a pair of fights from the top-ranked boxing card from this past Saturday evening / night, which was headlined by the Undisputed Junior Welterweight Championship bout between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. Before we get into that, guys, though, I kind of teased a little bit on the announcement of this card that I may be giving you guys a third fight based off of some of the names that I saw on the card. So the card, the one bout on the card that I was going to do that I didn't have highlighted for you guys on that post was the first fight of the evening. It was between Javier Martinez and Calvin Metcalf. Now, I was kind of intrigued by this. I didn't look into who these fighters were before the card, which is why I didn't highlight it for you. I was just kind of, the name kind of stood out to me. So I am also, on top of being a huge combat sports fan, I'm just a sports fan in general. So when I saw the last name Metcalf, I immediately thought of the NFL player DK Metcalf, who is an absolute specimen of a human, and a human and an athlete, honestly. And so I was like, if there's any type of family relationship here, any type of bloodline relationship here, this should be interesting, and this is going to be really exciting. Calvin Metcalf, I don't believe, has any relation to DK Metcalf. And I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to make it seem like this man is not an athlete of any kind. He is obviously a professional boxer. He is, he can, he's willing to go in there and get punched in the face for, 6, 8, 10 rounds a night, but I quickly realized when I saw the fighter introductions that Calvin Metcalf most likely not related to DK Metcalf, at least not close enough. So I did not do that fight for you guys. That was the fight I was going to do. I thought it was a little funny when I realized that it was most likely not a family relationship there, but so I wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully you got a little chuckle out of it. But on to the first fight that you did know about that I did do for you guys. It was the WBC Silver Lightweight Championship bout between defending champion Jose Zapata and Hank Lundy. Now, guys, this fight, this bout, it was difficult to watch at times. It was hard to watch at times. Not because one guy in particular was just overhauling the fight, and it was just like, oh God, please stop the fight. Like, this guy's all obviously cruising for a win. Like, this other guy's taking unnecessary punishment. It wasn't like that at all. And in fact, it was kind of quite the opposite. It was one of those where it was like neither guy really took control of the bout. Okay, so it was really difficult for me to score this fight because I honestly, the rounds were difficult to tell who won. I mean, I will say this: Lundy, when he came out, his footwork and everything was very interesting. It didn't seem stable, and even the announcers on the broadcast mentioned that. They were like, he doesn't look. His legs look wobbly, and he really hadn't been hit with anything hard. Now, it does bear to mention that Lundy is more mature in age. He's been in the boxing game for a while, so that does lend some wear and tear to the body. I'm not saying that, but to come out in round one and have your legs looking just unstable as they did with Lundy. was interesting to see. And I don't want to make it seem like he came out and, it looked like he was a baby deer trying to walk for the first time in their life. Like, it wasn't anything like that. But you could tell that he wasn't completely on balance. But also, he was still landing. So it was one of those where it was like, this looks weird, but it may also be his strategy. It was really hard to tell. Zabata, he had his times as well. He had his times in the bout where it was apparent that he could win this fight, and he could potentially stop Hank Lundy inside of the 10 rounds that they went. But he never he never committed to it. He never committed to that game plan. He never pulled the trigger on it. There were times where it was Sabeda that was just like, hey, this, like round 2, for example. Round 2, Sabeda came out, and immediately I was like, oh, it seems like he's got his timing down. It seems like his timing is better in this round. He was landing on Lundy. He was starting to sting Lundy to the body, and he was kind of continuously after that targeting the body in the second round and everything like that. And it was like, okay, this could mean that Zabeta was finally geared up. He was got the engine going, and he was just ready to start shifting gears and putting it on him. But then at times it was like, what is this guy doing? Like, why is he not pressuring Lundy as much as he was? Why is he not pressing Lundy as much as he should? Does he think he can't get Lundy out of there? Did he just have a terrible camp? Did he not focus on cardio? Like, there were so many things about this fight, guys, that it was a really interesting bout for a championship that it was. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it other than that, guys. Lundy at one point switched from orthodox to southpaw, which is not uncommon for him to do. He naturally is a southpaw, but he can fight both southpaw and orthodox. So it was like, okay, Lundy switched stances, which that may have thrown Zabeta off as well. But at the same time, I don't think it should have, because if you're fighting this guy, you should know, hey, he's naturally a southpaw, but he can fight orthodox too, and he may just switch up what stance he's going to do throughout the fight. Now, I have to say, that's what I would do. As a when I was competing in Taekwondo, there you have to be very good with both sides. A lot of people are good with one side, really good with the other side, but it helps if you're really good with both sides. So I thought you don't see it much in boxing where guys come out and, I'm naturally a southpaw, so I'm going to have my left hand in the back, but I can also fight orthodox, so my right hand's in the back, and that's how I'm going to start. And then every now and again in the fight, then I'll just switch to southpaw. You don't really see that a lot in boxing. You see a lot more in mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, kickboxing, all that kind of stuff. You don't see it so much in boxing, which and I get it that it's the timing for these different sports are all different. I get that. And the timing for if an orthodox fighter is fighting an orthodox fighter is different than if an orthodox fighter is fighting a southpaw, then if a southpaw is fighting a southpaw. I understand the timing and the distancing can all be different with that. I get that. But if you have the ability to do both and you're pretty proficient in it, I think it helps to do that more often than not. Especially because a lot of guys, when they're training in the gym, are not training with guys that are, switching from southpaw to orthodox. If I'm going to fight a southpaw guy, I'm going to bring in guys that are southpaw fighters because that's the look that I'm going to get. I'm not going to be bringing in guys that are orthodox fighters because that's, if the guy's a southpaw, then primarily a southpaw, then primarily that's what I'm going to be facing. I really don't, it doesn't serve to benefit me greatly by having that orthodox guy come in to get the timing and range and everything on the orthodox side if that's not going to be the main threat I'm facing. But like I said, I think if you're proficient in both sides, it definitely lends to be like, hey, this could help you because they're going to be bringing in southpaw training partners. If we come out southpaw and then a round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, halfway into the fight, we switch to orthodox, that guy's going to be thrown off. But we could still probably get something rolling. So I definitely liked, sorry guys, that Lundy switched to southpaw there. And I would like to say that threw Zabeta off. But Zabeta in that 4th round, when Lundy switched to southpaw, was also starting to back Lundy up more. You know, I think Lundy in that round had the better success, but it wasn't like Zabeta was just like, oh, he switched to southpaw, I don't know what to do. Like, he did still land, and he did still back Lundy up. Now, one thing I will say about this 4th round, too, that I have never seen, and the commentators ringside also seemed pretty confused about, is Lundy, when he was, I think it was towards the end of the round, he was trying to evade some shots, but he was ducking, and he was ducking pretty low to, like waist level height. Like he was pretty much bending over at his waist as his form of ducking. And the ref actually warned him to not duck so low. Now, I don't know what that means. Guys, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the ref meant. He literally said, don't duck so low. Don't duck to his waist or something like that, or along those lines. And I was very confused by it. I didn't know what he meant. It was very interesting. The announcers ringside were also quite bewildered, for lack of a better word. It was. I don't think they had ever heard it either. So it's something interesting. But then we go right back to kind of more oddness, which I guess that referee saying, hey, don't duck so low in this fight really shouldn't have surprised anyone, given the, or at least I don't think it surprises me as much now, looking back on the overall fight, than it did as I was listening to it at the end of round 4. Because it was just, it was a really ebb and flow fight, guys. Like, Zabeta would come out and he would do really well one round, and then the next round would be lackluster, and the next round would be lackluster, and it's like, oh, let me do really well, and then lackluster. So it was just a really interesting fight, guys. Ultimately, all 3 judges scored the bout 98-92 for a unanimous decision win for Jose Zabeta. He is and still the WBC silver lightweight champion of the world, or excuse me, silver lightweight champion. I always say of the world, guys. It's a bad habit. I should make sure I don't do that so much. But either way, still the silver lightweight champion. I had the bout a draw, guys. I did. I scored rounds 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 for Zabeta. I scored rounds 1, 3, 4, 9, 10 for Lundy. You know, I didn't think, like I said, either man really took charge of the bout. And in most rounds, it was really hard for me to decide who should get the round. Zabeta early in the fight was really landing some good body shots. Now you could tell we're stinging Lundy, especially in the first 2 rounds. I think the stat was he landed like 10 body shots in the first 2 rounds, which 10 shots in 6 minutes is is good. You're averaging over 1 a minute then. So it's he got away from that, and then he just seemed complacent through most of the bout. Like he knew that he could take Lundy's shots and not get hurt by him. On the other hand, Lundy kind of drew Zepeda into that slower pace, and so he effectively kind of controlled the pace of the fight, and kind of lured Zepeda into that give and take. I will say this too, it does bear mentioning, they did say that Zepeda had a tough weight cut. He was, I believe, half a pound over when he first attempted to weigh in, so he had an hour to lose that half pound, and even after that he had to come back and weigh in with no clothes on to make the championship weight. So that may have played a factor into how Zepeda fought. But I would think that would be even more of a reason to be like, hey, if we can get this guy out of here, let's get this guy out of here and go home. But that's just me. Like I said, Zepeda got the win. I think I and the commentators were all surprised at the lopsided scorecardness there, but it is what it is. That was our co-main event. Our main event was Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. Like I said before, guys, this was to crown the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. So coming into this bout, Josh Taylor was the WBA, IBF, and Ring Magazine junior welterweight champion of the world. Ramirez held the WBC and WBO junior welterweight championships of the world. So both guys were unified champions because they held 2 or more of the major titles. But they both wanted to be that undisputed champion. Guys, this was a great fight. So after that Zepeda-Lundy fight, this fight was like, whew, thank you, Taylor and Ramirez. Let me tell you what, guys. These guys came out and they got after it. It was so amazing. I cannot express to you guys how much I enjoyed this fight. And I think you guys can tell by the way that I talked about the Zepeda-Lundy fight and how I'm talking about this one. I absolutely enjoyed it. The first round, they came out and just really started going after it. There was really no real feeling out period. You know, they just go after it, guys. Ramirez, big thing that he was getting early was going to the body of Taylor. That was working for him. It really was. He even stung Taylor a couple of times to the body, and it looked like, Ramirez is going to get him out of there if he keeps going to the body. Especially, he was hitting him right around the liver area, so right on that right side of the body. And that's a spot that guys know, like, hey, if you can get them really good, boom, stung right in the liver. That liver can shut the rest of the body down, and we'll walk out with a win. Ramirez really just early started digging to the body, and it looked, like I said, guys, it looked like, excuse me, it looked like Ramirez was going to, take the bout. Now, that being said, Ramirez, the front half of the bout, that was where he had his most success. Taylor, he had his most success on the back half of the bout. So, and I think a lot of it switched when round 6 hit. So when round 6 hits, Ramirez actually comes out and goes straight across the ring to Taylor's corner, and Taylor lands a straight left that drops Ramirez. Guys, when I say this, I'm talking like this happened within the first 5-6 seconds of the round. So 5-6 seconds into the round, Taylor drops Ramirez. Ramirez has to answer a standing 8 count. And after that, Ramirez, I think that kind of woke Ramirez up, like, I gotta take I got to take notice of this guy. And so after he answers that standing 8 count, Taylor's starting to land a little bit, but then Ramirez starts to move in and he starts to land on Taylor as well. And it really turned into, I think this was the round where you could really see, like, oh, okay, Ramirez wants to really be on the inside. Taylor wants to really be on the outside. Like, you could see that earlier in the fight as well, but I think round 6 was the one where it was definite. Like, after Ramirez took that hit, he was like, let me get inside and not have to worry as much about that. So it was, I think that was kind of the turning of the tides there. Definitely in the 7th round, though, was the turning of the tides, because Taylor starts avoiding Ramirez's shots really well in the early portion of the round. Ramirez is trying to target the body more, but then Taylor drops Ramirez with a beautiful left uppercut after the two were separating from a clinch. So they were kind of clinched up. They separating. Ramirez he got a little too relaxed, and Taylor just boom, left uppercut, drops him. Ramirez has to answer another standing 8 count, and at this point, there's only about 10 seconds left in the round, and Taylor just starts putting it on him. After that, it was like you could see clearly Taylor was the one controlling the bout. Ramirez started biting on feints from Taylor. Taylor was not letting Ramirez rest as much as he kind of was able to in earlier rounds. Ramirez, especially in the 8th round, Ramirez kind of stayed along the ropes, and I think it was just because he still needed to he was still working on getting his wits back about him from getting that knockdown so close to the end of the round, and then having Taylor land some of those shots in those final 10 seconds. So that 8th round, excuse me, guys, sorry. That 8th round was really important for Taylor to establish, like, hey, I'm going to be the one controlling the rest of this fight. And, that's really how it went. Round 9, Ramirez kind of seemed a little bit closer to how he was prior to being dropped in the 7th, but he was definitely slower with his punches. Taylor was being more strategic about when he threw, and he was trying to throw from distance more. The final 4 rounds there, so from round 9 to round 12, it was really Ramirez trying to press Taylor more, like he was able to in the beginning of the bout. But then it was just Taylor being able to use the footwork that he still had to stay at range and land better on Ramirez. That was really how the bout kind of came to a close too, guys. It was especially in round 12, Ramirez was looking for that home run hit, and Taylor was just like, I'm pretty sure I got this one in the bank. And he wasn't cruising. So it wasn't like he was like, I'm just going to avoid him altogether, and I can give up this round. Taylor was still landing. He was still landing. There was at one point where he was kind of standing still, which I was like, hey, that's probably not a good idea for him to do, because Ramirez is still able to get that home run hit if he can. But then Taylor started to move around. He started to use his range again, and he was kind of didn't make it so easy on Ramirez. He wasn't such a stationary target. So when everything was said and excuse me, sorry guys. When everything was said and done, I gave rounds 1, 3, 4, 5, and 12 to Ramirez. And then I gave rounds 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to Taylor. With rounds 6 and 7 being 10-8 rounds, because he had the knockdown in each of he had a knockdown, in each of those rounds. The judges' scorecards, all 3 judges saw the bout the same way, 114 to 112 for the winner, and now undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world, Josh Taylor. At that point, I don't think it was any surprise, guys, for anybody there, for the announcer, for the commentators, excuse me, for the fans, for the fight teams. You know, obviously Ramirez wanted to kind of keep the faith that he could get the nod and get the win, but I think it was clear to see that Taylor was going to be the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. Like I said, great fight, very entertaining fight, especially when you compared it to the co-main event. I'm not trying to dog the co-main event. I'm not trying to dog Zabeta and Lundy there, but that when you compare the two fights, Taylor and Ramirez was the far more entertaining fight of the two. Like I said, Ramirez, it was kind of the tale of two halves. Ramirez seemed to be in control and hurting Taylor early, especially the body at times. But then those middle rounds and then leading into those late rounds, Taylor started having his success more. Dropped Ramirez in those 2 straight rounds. And, you know, it was just after that, you know, Taylor was really just using his technique, using his movement, you know, maintaining that outside control. So he was staying outside so he could land his shots at distance more than Ramirez could get in and land his shots on the inside. Like I said before, both guys came in as unified champions. Both wanted that undisputed title. But ultimately it was Taylor taking control of his fate, dropping Ramirez twice, and then from that point on, just not letting him back in the fight. He kind of, after that second knockdown, he kind of shut the door in his face. And other than round 12, you know, I gave every round on the back half to Taylor. So, good on him. Congratulations, Josh Taylor, being undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. Ramirez, I don't think has anything to hang his head about. Like, he was, you know, he was in the bout. He was definitely in the fight. You know, it was just those 2 knockdowns kind of took him out of it. So nothing for him to hang his head about. I'm sure he's going to make his way back to a title at some point as well. Whether or not it'll be an undisputed title being won back from Taylor, being won from Taylor, or if it'll be one of the smaller titles that the WBA, WBC, WBO, those guys have. Maybe it'll be one of those. But like I said, nothing to hang his head about. And that's today's show, guys. So hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe as always. Hop over to Instagram and Facebook and give me a like and a follow there. On Facebook, it's one more round with Rob. On Instagram, the handle is at one more round Rob. Posting there almost daily. I've got some. I've had some boxing and MMA news come out earlier in the week. Obviously, I'll have some today as well. We'll have fight cards and specific bouts announced tomorrow for this weekend. Everything like that. So make sure to go over there, like and follow them. Stay up to date on everything that I see coming across. That's big news for boxing, MMA, kickboxing, any combat sport, really. As always, guys, if you guys see a card coming up that you think I'll be interested in checking out, drop me a message, shoot me a message, let me know, and I'll take a look at it. Maybe I'll, pick it, give you guys my take on it for the following week's shows. And then, of course, guys, stay happy, healthy, and safe. And until next time, congratulations. You just went one more round with Rob. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one.